Hey, Ashley, so talk to us. What's one piece of advice you can give us this Monday morning?
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. I thought long and hard about this. And my biggest piece of advice for new practice owners, existing practice owners, is to really take a look at your payment methodology in the practice. And I know we have a lot of doctors considering surcharging their patients for those credit card fees, which I'm the first to admit, like they're getting higher and higher, right? It's a cost of doing business, but absolutely do not pass that charge along to your customer. It's what's called surcharging to the patient, mainly because of the impact that's going to have on the practice. I know it seems like an easy fix and a really quick way to avoid the processing fees that you're paying from those credit card companies, but there's a whole set of implications that come with it internally for the practice. Things like requiring you to notify the credit card companies if you're going to do this. You can't just start doing it. It's illegal in some states. And so not knowing your state's legality can get you into some trouble there. And then furthermore, you do have to display specific signage in the office. And so it's not one of these things where you can just try to slide it in and hope. It has to be its own line item, right? So they're going to see it anyway on the statement, but you have to publicly display that. And what worse way to commoditize your practice than having that little plastic sign that says we're passing along our fees to you?
Yeah. Interesting. So have you seen this spike a lot recently? Practices asking about this, asking you, Ashley, how do I present this to the patient?
I have. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Started in dental marketing from 2015 to 2021. And in those 6 years, I cannot tell you I was ever asked about this once. And I know there are companies out there that do. That's a piece of their software in terms of payments is to push the charge over to the patient. So I think that's why it's becoming top of mind because they're hearing it at shows. Hey, surcharge. And it's top of mind. But what I don't think they've thought through completely in the conversations that I've had is the implications. Losing patients being a big one. There's actually a study done that said 71% of small business customers say that they try to avoid companies that charge a fee to use their credit card. So that's a big number. Okay, that's a huge number. 57% of consumers think it should be illegal. So we're talking about a big number here. It's not just a few people that are passionate about it in the consumer landscape and making sure that they're following the guidelines if they do it. So you have to cap it at whatever rate you're paying. So if you're paying 2% and you come display a sign that says 3%, like my nail salon does, again, I don't need dentists out there that wants to be seen as a commodity. Or like a nail salon, or that is a commodity, right? And that's where I see it in my day-to-day is my nail salon. So 3%, I believe 3% is the cap. And it's only eligible for credit cards. Can't do it on debit cards. My nail salon, they try to do it on debit cards. It's like, they don't know the ins and outs of it. And it's a can of worms, in my opinion, not to mention the fact that patient loyalty is going to just dissipate. I firmly say if I walk into my dentist next week for my appointment and this is displayed, I'm finding a new dentist. And I really like my dentist, but I'm with the 71% of consumers that think, wow, I'm going to avoid. And I don't know that the offices that I've spoken to about it have thought through the domino effect of what's going to happen. It's a cost of doing business. It just, unfortunately, I encourage them to take a look at their fee schedule. The last 10 years in dentistry, I have offices who they haven't raise their fees, obviously for their fee for service patients. When insurance is involved, it's obviously fee negotiations there and their fee schedule with insurance. But even then, there's opportunity. There's companies out there galore that will help you negotiate higher fees with insurance. So let's put it this way. If I go to my dentist next week and they've negotiated 3% higher fees with insurance, or I'm paying out of pocket because I'm fee for service, I'm not going to notice that. But what I am going to notice is that sign on the plexiglass that says I'm paying for your credit card processing case. So let's just avoid it. If you want to be seen as a trusted advisor, you want to set yourself apart from the competition. There's so many dentists in your area, right? I don't want to be seen as a commodity. What's my unique selling proposition? How can I offer a service to patients? This is just not the way to go about it.
So then, if you don't mind me asking, Ashley, what's the emotion behind it? Like, the surcharge, is it more like, I don't want to pay that extra however much dollar amount? Or is it more like, you can't cover this? You can't cover this for me?
I think it's the latter. Yeah, for me, 3% of whatever number. Now, I will also add to that, Michael, I have a pretty healthy mouth. So 3% of my fees, what I'm paying, it's probably a small number. But to me, it's more about the principle. But if I'm coming in for a big case, and we're talking a big number, 3% of a really big number, that's impactful to people's pocketbooks. It just is. So for me, it's the emotional side of it. And come on, really? For me personally, just because I'm not investing thousands and thousands of dollars at my dental practice, but there are people who are.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I know, for example, whenever you order something, at least I do this. I don't know if you do this, Ashley, but like there's Amazon or something, you make a big purchase, or let's just say like a big purchase, like a car, right? Not on Amazon, but a car. And then they try to do the little, oh, the shipping is this. And you're like, oh my gosh, never mind. I mean, but it's like a little small fraction of the whole thing. And technically we're already paying this. We should pay for that.
Right.
But that opts me out. So I guess there's the same
mentality of it. You know what? I had this conversation with girlfriends, and they'll go shopping online for clothes, whatever, spend a couple $100 and then go to check out and it's $7.95 to ship it. And they're like, no, I'm done. Like they don't check out. And we're like, why? It's $8. We were going to spend hundreds on clothes. And frankly, I would rather that sweater cost $7 more and the shipping be free. There's something about the mentality. It's just, I can't get around it. It's really hard for me. And I think there are others who have the same thought as I do on it. And then let alone the people who are spending big bucks at the practice and then realizing, oh my gosh, now I have to cover this 2% fee that you're trying to pass along.
Okay. Is there ever, I guess, for someone who has already, they're listening and they're like, oh my gosh, Ashley, I've started doing this a year ago though. And they have been seeing the drop off or they have been seeing the negative effects. How can they just stop doing it? Is that it? Do you just stop doing it and that's it and take off the sign, or?
That's a great question, Michael. I don't know the ramifications with the credit card companies if you chose to reverse this. If you saw the negative implications and said, oh, I made a horrible decision, I can't imagine the credit card companies are going to be upset about that, because if you think about it from the credit card company's perspective, what you're doing is encouraging that patient to pay by cash or debit card or write you a check. So the credit card company wants their processing fees, whether it's coming from the doctor or the patient. So my guess in total speculation is it's not going to be too hard to just stop doing it, which obviously other things involve, like you're going to have to probably obviously get rid of the signage, but then redo the way that your current setup is, because when you collect that fee from a patient, you're not actually collecting what the fee was. It's above and beyond. So reconciling that with the practice management system is a beast too. And so there's systems that probably do it for them, but if not, and they're just going rogue and surcharging, there's a bigger set of complication there, because if your total bill, Michael, was supposed to be $1,250, we placed a crown and it was $1,250 you're paying out of pocket, and then that's added on, you're collecting a different amount than the balance that was actually due, if that makes sense. So to reconcile that in the practice management software, because the office is walking that $1,250 out onto the patient's ledger and then collecting $1,250 plus. So that's just a nightmare if the software is not doing it for you. But I would argue, even if it is, there's ways to stop doing it.
Yeah.
You're not locked in to doing it. And I'm sure there are people listening that are trying it and haven't seen a huge drop off. Maybe their existing patients are staying and they do have loyal patients, and that's great. But how many new patients are not coming? They'll never know. You'll never know. You can't tell me just because I didn't leave. If my friend says, Ashley, I'm thinking about going to Dr. Smith. Is he great? Is she great? I'm going to say, yeah, but guess what? They pass along their credit card fees to you. They might go somewhere else. So that wasn't necessarily a loss. I didn't leave, but I prevented 3 of my friends from coming as new patients. So I think there's things that you can't track. You'll never really know the extreme implication, but I think there's a lot.
Do you ever think there's like practices that say this is minuscule or small, we just need to care more, do more, be better, streamline the process better, or present the surcharges in a way that the patient's kind of like, oh yeah, of course, no problem.
How would that sound? I can't think of a way to make it not sound like it's about me, because as a patient and humans in general, it's what's in it for me. Maybe I'm just like got my blinders on, but if you're a patient, Michael, how could I articulate that to you in a way that didn't make you feel like it was me?
Yeah.
About my bottom line so much that I'm willing to pass that charge on and potentially lose you as a patient or prevent you from referring others. I don't know how you articulate that well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Because if you are doing it, there could be a good way to articulate it well that you're not doing it anymore on behalf of them or something like that. You know what I mean?
Potentially. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say the places that I've frequented or seen this happen, it's never been verbally articulated. It's always that sign that says, if you pay by credit card, you're going to pay a 3% surcharge. You're paying a 3% fee. Never have I ever had a conversation. It's never come up. And I'll see it and roll my eyes and like, okay, like it is what it is. Like you're at the nail salon. I'm going to keep using that because, by the way, that's the place that does it in my neighborhood. I don't have any medical providers that I see doing this. I will tell you that. Dermatologist, dentist. my eye doctor, none of them are doing this. So that's great. But the nail salon, like your nails are already done and you don't have cash. What are you going to do? You're going to pay the 3%. You are. But it's never been a conversation. So I don't know how you articulate that you're starting to do it and make it not sound about you and kind of self-centered from the practice perspective. But I can see your point of view if they stop doing it, being able to say, hey, we tried that. We care so much about our customers. We're actually not going to do that anymore. We're waiving it. Yeah, however you want to articulate it. But yeah, I think that would come across well. I just don't know of a way to deliver that message when you're doing it.
No, yeah. But it's interesting. I like this topic because I remember seeing it a couple times in a couple Facebook groups. And that's when it was like made aware that, oh yeah, it is the pain point that practices are experiencing. And I guess it could be an easy pain point that you just erase if you're just, hey, this is the cost of doing business. Like, we got to eat it, right?
Yeah, there's so many other things they make that exception for in their practice. When you think about everything that they're investing in, there's lots of things they're making exceptions for, and costs of doing business. Make this one of them, right? And find other ways to get that. Like, literally hire a company to negotiate your fees for you. There's so many good ones out there. I've seen some awesome ones. And then taking a look at your fee schedule for your fee for service patients. Not that you're penalizing them for being fee for service, but looking at it from both angles, or finding an area in the practice to save. I think if a doctor sat down, and I have partners that I work with that do this, they do an analysis of your spend and where everything's going and try to make things more efficient. Start there before you just default to, hey, I'm going to just pass that along to the patient, is my advice.
Yeah. Any specific companies that you recommend that can help with negotiating?
Yeah, we have a few. I won't throw any out just because there are so many. I don't want to seem like I work with all of our partners, and I have another team that works with our partners. So I definitely don't want to seem like I favor anyone else over the others. But yeah, if you Google dental fee negotiation, the good ones will pop up. I've done those searches recently and the good ones are kind of rising to the top. But yeah, I mean, offline, if somebody wants to shoot me a message on LinkedIn or something like that, I'm more than happy to provide a few resources. But there's plenty that I've been doing it a very long time, actually, and they're really good at it. So I would love for practices to start there if they're able to. Obviously, there comes a fee with that too, but I think the benefits outweigh the fee or the negative there. So
yeah. Awesome, Ashley. I appreciate your time. And if anyone has further questions, you can definitely find her on the Dental Marketer Society Facebook group, or where can they reach out to you directly?
Yeah, LinkedIn's great. I'm very active on LinkedIn. It's Ashley Best, Director of Partnerships at Dental Intelligence. If you're trying to find one, I don't know if there's too many Ashley Bests out there. Seems like a common name. Or shoot me an email. You can always email me, abest@dentalintel.com. I'm happy to answer questions, provide referrals or references to the companies that I know do this really well with practices. So
Awesome. So that's going to be in the show notes below. And Ashley, thank you for being with me on this Monday morning episode.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Take care.